Hello, Professor. Today I'm going to talk about the national economy about the country Peru. So we're going to talk about from four aspects, which are GDP, inflation, labor force, and the fiscal policy. First, let's talk about the gross domestic product. It represents the total market value of all goods and services produced in a country. It is also a key indicator of economic performance. According to the chart, Peru's GDP has shown steady growth over the past decade. In 2023, it reached 267.6 billion US dollars, marking significant progress compared to earlier years such as 2012 and 16. The post-2020 period highlights a notable recovery, likely reflecting economic policies and global recovery efforts after distributions. This sustained growth suggests a strengthening of Peru's economy over time. Peru's GDP showed consistently growth until 2019. In 2020, it contracted sharply by negative 10.9% due to the pandemic, but rebounded strongly in 2021 with a 3% growth, driven by rising commodity exports and strong mining and service performance. Growth slowed in 2022 to 23 due to inflation, higher interest rates, and political uncertainty. In 2023, Peru's GDP per capita reached 6,400 US dollars, reflecting steady economic growth. However, significant disparities remain as poverty and income inequality continue to challenge the nation's development. In comprehension, the US has a much higher GDP per capita, and Luxembourg leads globally with 129,000 US dollars. This highlights the economic gap between Peru and wealthier nations, despite its recent progress. These are the GDP composition by economic sectors in Peru for the year 2022. This breakdown demonstrates the relative importance of the different economic sectors in Peru's national economy. Based on the composition, we can meet some opportunities such as economic diversification and technological adoption in order to address the poverty and inequality. Next, let's talk about the inflation of the country Peru. During 2024, even though the electricity price dropped, the inflation in Peru increased 2.1% and mainly caused by service, food, and fuel price. For example, from the chart, basically our education, the local transportation, water, and eating outside. This chart provides an inflation outlook from May to August this year in Peru as an example of their inflation. For year-over-year inflation target range with midpoint of 2% in May rising to 2.03% by August, while non-food and energy inflation declined from 3.1% to 2.78% during this period. To have an overview of CPI trends in Peru in the last 3 years, the inflation is expected to be within the target range due to effective monetary policies in 2023, and the core inflation pressure are easing by hovering near the upper target limit in 2024, which indicates that Peru is managing inflation through monetary policy and seeing some moderation in price pressure, but uncertainty remains about whether inflation will stay within the target range. This chart shows the distribution of possible inflation projection values over the 2024 to 2025 period. The central line represents the baseline scenario, while the bands indicate the range of uncertainty around that projection. This suggests that while Peru is aiming for stability in the 1 to 3% inflation target range, there are still risks of inflation moving outside that target range in either direction over the next couple of years. First, let's quickly consider global economic conditions, where the outlook of this year includes an identified moderate growth and increased unstable in financial market. An observation of any risks associated with fuel prices increase is under consistent vigilance by government of Peru. Next, let's focus on expenses and revenues as a way to understand the adaptations of the policies, which are the fiscal and monetary policies. The clearing of the other factors announces that we will now focus on expenses. Through this chart, we can see that Peru's spending has fluctuated between 2020 and 24, reaching 19.6 thousand million soles. With Peru's inflation under control, the central bank of Peru is expected to keep cutting its policy rate towards 4.5%. Note that Peru would like to increase tax collection to stay balanced with expenses and also continue to monitor money supply as part of the fiscal policy. Here we see how expenses overall related to domestic policy. As part of fiscal and monetary policy, Peru monitor money supplies that we've made special focus on M1. Because Peru's monetary policy implemented by Central Bank by Peru is key to managing inflation and maintaining financial stability. Monitoring M1 allows Peru to measure economic activities and inflationary pressure inside the country. Note that in this chart you can see M1 from 1992 up to August 2024. It tended to grow up to a max of 77.5 billion US dollars 4 months ago. In terms of monetary policy, it is important to remember that we main tools available for establishing the policies are first monetary based and second interest rate setting. Peru plans to balance what happens within the country's economic and the global economy, which is always with continuous adaptation in mind. Also, the Central Reserve Bank of Peru is determined to keep inflation with target range as the chart we showed before in inflation section. The tightening stance was successful in containing inflationary pressure post COVID-19. This policy was established as a precautionary measure. The policy stood at 3.4% in April 2024, substantially above the estimated real nature rate of 2%. This chart illustrates the precautionary measure by Peru. Going back to Peru's fiscal policy in 2024, having seen the data from before, now we understand that it's all about a balance between stimulating economic growth and keeping fiscal sustainability. To accomplish these two things, the government aims to first reduce fiscal deficit, second, boost their revenue, third, improve financial management. There are some ways to boost revenue, such as environmental taxes, digital economy taxation, or improve tax administration. To reduce fiscal deficit, there are also several ways, like reduce debt ratio to lower than 30% of GDP, or strengthen fiscal policy guidelines. Otherwise, reduce current spending within the country. Therefore, there is a final way that Peru hopes to boost revenue includes foreign direct investment, which is FDIs. By passing laws that allow foreign investors to participate in equal market conditions, the government-to-government contracts for projects contributes to revenue. In conclusion, Peru's fiscal policy in 2024 is aimed to striking a balance between short-term economic needs and long-term fiscal sustainability. The success of these policies will depend on effective implementation policy, a political will, and a favorable economic environment. To conclude, Peru's economy is strong but faces several challenges. The country heavily depends on natural resources and trade of raw materials, which makes it sensitive to global market price changes. However, Peru is working to grow its service sector, which could help its economy find new ways to develop in the future. To keep its economic growth growing, Peru needs to tackle some important issues, such as reducing the gap between rich and poor, improving infrastructure, and fighting corruption. At the same time, creating good financial and money policies is crucial. This will help keep the economy stable and create a better environment for business to grow. Thank you.